Hi everyone, it's Miss Price, and today we're going to be talking about smiley face tricks. Today's trick is expanded moment. Now we're going to take some notes in our spiral on our computer, and we're also going to practice in our writer's notebook. So let's get those items. Just a reminder as to what smiley face tricks are. Remember, those are the tools that good writers are using that are drawing the reader into their writing. So they're just writer's crafts that writers are using that help interest the reader in their writing, that helps get the reader to imagine and visualize and picture what you as the writer are imagining and visualizing. Remember that it helps the reader get involved and connect to the story. And most importantly, smiley face tricks are a great way to show and not tell. You don't want to tell the reader things, you want to show them things, and that's what smiley face tricks are all about. Today's trick is expanded moment. Remember, there are 8 different tricks, and we're only going to look at expanded moment today. We will look at these other ones another time. Now, expanded moment really is a trick that you're going to use just in creative writing. You rarely see this trick in expository writing, informational, or argumentative writing. It really is a trick for those creative writers. But it's a great trick to use, and it's pretty easy to use once you get the hang of it. So let's get started looking at it. Here is our notes that go in our spiral on our computer, so go ahead and write it down. And what expanded moment really is where a writer will take a moment that they want to emphasize and they will stop time. Time will literally stand still. No one's going to talk, no one's going to move, and they're just going to sit there and tell the reader what the character's thinking. What thoughts are going on in their heads? What are they feeling? What emotions do they have right then? They might have the character look around and make observations, or they might have the character reminisce and think back in time. But literally, time will stand still. No movement, no moving forward in an expanded moment. Let's take a look at some from literature so that we can get some ideas and different ways that we can actually handle expanded moment. Now, this one a student gave me, and this is a great way to emphasize feelings and emotions. So let's read it and figure out how the author did that. Just scared? No, I'm not just scared. See, that makes it sound like some plain old everyday emotion. I'm terrified, horrified, overwhelmed with dread. I feel like my brain has been filled full of sewage and I'll never ever be able to get it clean. Like this stuff will eat me alive in my dreams. Like I'll never see the world the same again. Scared? They want to eat us, you moron. They want to cut out our hearts. They almost did, you fool. You want to save Senna? Go for it, Batman. See you later. And again, this is a great way where the author just stops time and just explains how that character is feeling. And we get from this is like, wow, this character must really be scared. Another example of expanded moment is where a character stops and observes and tells us what it is that she's seeing, and she also reminisces a little bit. She goes back in time and looks at her memories. I hadn't been to the home place since Grandma died. That little house looked so lonely up there with the empty bird feeder and the closed curtains. Grandma had fed the birds sunflower and thistle seeds every morning, and she always kept the curtains tied back in the daytime. My throat felt like it was filled with cotton, and lonesomeness poured over me like a gully washer rain. It had nothing to do with my tree house. I was remembering how Grandma liked to hum along to a scratched up Johnny Cash album. How whenever someone visited her, she'd say, "Look what the cat drug in." How she always smelled sweet because every morning she dabbed cotillion cologne behind her ears. Now this is a great example where she tells us what she's seen and then she relives some moments she's had with her grandma. If you notice, there is another smiley face trick. Right here is repetition for effect, where she repeats certain things, which is great. We also have metaphor and we have some similes. So it's great in an expanded moment to also use other smiley face tricks. It just enhances that expanded moment. It helps that time stand still. All right, another example. Now this one tells us how the character's thinking. So this is a great expanded moment example where the character stops and tells us all the thoughts that are actually going in her head and how she's feeling about those. How could she explain? Mary knew with certainty that her mother would never believe in Molly, in time traveling, in any of it. She would think Mary was bonkers and take her to a psychiatrist who would also think she was bonkers. After a while, Mary herself might come to believe she was bonkers. And that would be the end of magic. Mary remembered the wonderful warm feeling of learning that magic was real and that it had happened to her and Molly. That was hers. If she kept the magic a secret, that feeling would be hers forever, even if it never happened again. So again, we're seeing some repetition for effect. We have the repetition of bonkers. We are seeing some ways that she's telling us what she's thinking and then how she's feeling. So it's a really good expanded moment where time just stands still and Miri is thinking about what's going on. Another example is this one is all repetition for effect, and again, it's just her thoughts. In this book, this character is just telling us what she's thinking at the time. I wouldn't feel the sun on my back anymore. I wouldn't hear the wind rustling the leaves. I wouldn't smell the sweet scent of honeysuckle. I wouldn't see the green grass growing over me. I wouldn't think about what I would do tomorrow. I wouldn't write any poems or read any books. All memories would die with me, all my thoughts and ideas. And so we have a long repetition for effect where the character is just telling us what she's thinking and feeling at that moment. Now, my last example is a really great one that has kind of an extended metaphor in it, and it's just very good visual where the character is just stopping and looking around and telling us what she sees and how the day goes. When the summer winds blew, she watched bits of scrap paper ride the currents in a frenzied corkscrew motion as they were hurled this way and that high above the prison walls. She watched the wind stir mutiny in the dust, whipping it into violent spirals that ripped through the courtyard. Everyone, the guards, the inmates, the children, Miriam, burrowed their faces in the hook of their elbows, but the dust would not be denied. It made homes of ear canals and nostrils, of eyelashes and skin folds, of the spaces between molars. Only at dusk did the winds die down, and then if a night breeze blew, it did so timidly, as if to atone for the excess of its daytime sibling. This is a great example expanded moment where she's telling us what she sees and how she feels about what she sees. So now that we know a little bit about what expanded moment is, let's go ahead and just write down a few reminders so that when we write our own, we can remember. One thing that we want to remember is that it needs to last more than 1 or 2 sentences, even more than 3 or 4 sentences. This is like a paragraph. It's going to be 9, 10 sentences long as you see in those examples. It doesn't go by real quick. You're going to stop and make time stand still. You are going to make sure that you choose a time in your story that you want to stop and emphasize, that you want your audience to really think deeply about and ponder on. So it needs to be an important moment that needs to be emphasized. Remember to use the sensory details in your expanded moment. Help the reader see what you see and hear what you hear and think what you think, so that the sensory details need to be attended to. And then also remember that it's zooming in on one moment in time, and there should be no time movement. Don't go forward. So nobody talks, nobody moves. Time literally stands still. And you're emphasizing just a moment, not a whole scene. It's just a moment in time. All right, so let's put our spirals away. Let's put our computers away. Let's get out our writer's notebook because we are ready to practice. So what I want you to do is think of an emotion that's very strong that you have felt at some point in your life, and I want you to write an expanded moment about that situation. So it could be a situation where you won a game, you could have gotten a present of a lifetime. It could be when you were really scared at a haunted house. It could be when you're overwhelmed with your feelings. Maybe you were really nervous about giving a speech. So anything at all where you're feeling a really strong emotion. And I want you to tap into that emotion. I want time to stand still. Now, when you do your expanded moment, if you need to have some movement or some dialogue to lead you into the expanded moment, and then have some movement or dialogue to lead you out of it, that is fine. But during the expanded moment, that whole 8, 9, 10 sentences, time will literally stand still, and no one will talk and no one will move. You will tell thoughts and you will tell feelings. You might look around and tell us what the character sees or hears. You might reminisce and go back in your thoughts, but time will not move forward. And that's the key there. All right, we look forward to seeing your examples in class when you are able to get this figured out. Enjoy writing your expanded moment.